So you introduce yourself to somebody who doesn't know you,
Yeah.
and you say, "Hey, I want to be the next mayor." What do you say?
Hey, I'm Paul Young. I represent the next generation of leadership. I'm a born and raised Memphian. I grew up in the Oak Haven area, son of Bishop William and Diane Young, who's done amazing work here in this community through the Healing Center. I've been training for this opportunity my whole career. I'm a city planner, electrical engineer, currently serve as the Downtown Memphis Commission president, formerly the director of housing. I've worked in every neighborhood in our city, and I'm ready to take our community higher. We deserve more than where we are today, and we deserve a leader that's going to move us into the next chapter of being.
Wow.
That's the 60-second version.
That's a good one. All right. So you filed your paperwork. You became a candidate.
Yeah.
You got those good registered voters to sign your papers. And here's my question. What have you learned about the city since you've been a candidate for mayor that you didn't know before?
I wouldn't say I didn't know it, but I would say it's more apparent now. That Memphis has amazing people. I mean, the people of our city are, we're very diverse. We are very flavorful, meaning that there's just a lot of energy, a lot of different characters in our community, but there's a lot of heart. More than anything else, there's a lot of heart. And people love our city. Things have been pretty dark. They felt pretty dark in our community, and I feel it no matter what neighborhood I'm in, whether I'm in South Memphis, Westwood, East Memphis, Orange Mound. Things have felt very dark. There's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of pain. What we see on the news daily it's hurting our community, and people are still feeling optimistic though. They want something to feel hopeful about, and our campaign has represented that for many people, and that's why I work as hard as I do. That's why we are grinding. People see us everywhere, and we're going to keep it up through October 5th.
Specifically, what in your experience convinces you you could be a good mayor?
I am the only candidate that has been trained as a city planner. As city planners, we work to figure out how to put the puzzle pieces for neighborhoods together, whether there are the social programs, the educational opportunities, the community centers, the streets, the housing, the commercial businesses and the districts. All of those things are a part of city planning. And I have trained as a city planner through the schooling and from the academic side, but I've also been practicing community development for the past 20 years. I understand city government deeply. There are projects in our city that would not have happened but for Paul Young. There are initiatives in our city that would not have happened. And I mean initiatives where people's lives are better, where they were able to stay in their homes because they got support from rental assistance or utility assistance, or they've been able to move into new quality affordable housing units as a result of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund that I put in place, or quality developments that were funded through Housing and Community Development. I am the only candidate in this race that has that depth of experience with doing the work on the ground. I was the one that has made many politicians look good because of the projects that we've been able to execute, and we need more of that. The people of our community need more of that, and I think that makes me unique.
All right. In the landscape of your life in this city, who are your Memphis heroes and your heroines?
Memphis heroes. I mean, so first and foremost, obviously, I'm gonna start with my mom and dad. They have done such amazing work in the faith community and around mental health, and the things that they've done, including the Suicide in the Black Church Conference, which there's not a day that I'm out on the campaign trail that somebody doesn't walk up and say, "Your mom changed my life, your dad changed my life." And so that's the testament of who I want to be. I want to be someone whose life, by my sheer existence on this earth, has a positive influence on someone else's life. So they would be first, and then I love our sports players, so Penny Hardaway, John Morant, Zebo, they give our community inspiration. There's something that we rally around, that we galvanize around, and they've given us so many moments, and looking forward to seeing more of those moments through the Tigers and the Grizz in this next season.
Very good. What are you going to accomplish in your first 100 days?
In the first 100 days, my goal is to make sure that we are bringing the players together around this public safety issue. I want to make sure that there's an urgency, that there's urgency around pulling us to the table to say we don't get up until we figure out solutions. No more pointing fingers. No more saying it's his fault or her fault. It's our fault that the community is in the situation that we're in. And we need everybody at the table, the community stakeholders, the people, the judges, the district attorneys, the officers, the sheriff, everybody that plays a role in keeping our community whole. We need them at the table on a regular, consistent basis, not just when there's a problem, but to maintain things going well in our community. When we get things right, we're going to continue to stay at the table. And I'm going to start that in the first 100 days.
Okay. Let's see. What was the straw that broke the camel's back, made you determined to run?
I think it was a conversation that I had with my dad before he passed. He passed in October of last year, but prior to that, about a year before, had a conversation, and I was talking to him about, whether I would run or not, and I was flaking. I said, I'm in an amazing job, and I love what we do at Downtown Memphis Commission. And he sat and listened to me for a while, and he said these words to me that just kind of changed my perspective. He said, son, if your grandmother and grandfather would have ever imagined that their grandson could be the mayor of this city, they wouldn't believe it. If somebody would have told them that, they wouldn't have believed it, because that was so far removed from what was possible in their lives. And he said, what God has put in you, what you've been training for, is not for you. It's for the rest of this city. He's been preparing you for this. Now you have to go make the decision however you need to make it. But just know that this decision is not about you. It's about what God has put in you for the rest of this community. And when I thought about that and I looked at what was happening during COVID and saw people passing, I said the time is now. I don't feel like I'll be better in 8 years than I am today. And so I said, let's go for it. Throw caution to the wind, and we went for it.
Big picture stuff right now. What's your vision for Memphis?
My vision for Memphis is a place where everyone has opportunities, where we actually move the needle on poverty. We've been talking about poverty for the last 50, 60 years. It is the thing that is holding our community down. All of the negative things that we talk about, whether it's crime or health outcomes, they all go back to poverty. And I firmly believe that we have to move the needle on that. So building wealth in our community, particularly in the minority community. We need more African-American millionaires in our community. And we need more vibrant commercial districts in every neighborhood in our city. And for me, that's the vision for our city, is one where it's very vibrant, and one in which my kids, everyone else's kids, when they leave, go to college or go wherever they want to go, they want to come back to this city.
So let's talk about the crime thing.
Yeah.
What strategies will you employ to reduce crime?
When it comes to crime, I say it's twofold. One, we must hold people accountable. So there are people out here that have been terrorizing our neighborhoods and our communities. And for me, we're going to make sure that we are holding them accountable, that we are bringing them to justice. And in order to keep them in the justice system when needed, particularly those repeat violent offenders, we're going to have to work together. We're going to have to work with the state. We're going to have to work with the district attorney and the judges. So first and foremost is accountability. Second, and equally important is intervention and prevention, because we know who the young people are that are headed down the wrong road. They're in truancy court, they're getting suspended from school, they're having early interaction with the law. We know who they are, but our systems don't talk. Our bureaucracy doesn't talk. We need those bureaucratic systems to speak to each other so we know who the young people are, so we can target interventions, not in a punitive sense, but in an opportunistic sense. How can we provide opportunities to these young folks to change their mind before we have to hold them accountable on the other side of the equation? It's both and, not either or. Many people will argue for one over the other. It's both. And my goal is to make sure that we do that as your mayor.
The New York Times, in the wake of the Tyree Nichols tragedy, said that our city of 630,000 people faces what he called the Memphis squeeze, a city in need of vigorous crime-fighting solutions, but one that is reeling from a police abuse problem. How will you walk that line?
Yeah, what we saw during the Tyree Nichols tragedy was appalling. It's something that no one likes to see, no one wants to see. I think it revealed a subculture that is present not just in Memphis Police Department, but in police departments across this country. Most police officers don't do things like that, but we owe it to our community and the good officers to root out the ones that do conduct that type of negative activity. They're making it tough. They're making it difficult for the good officers. They're putting targets on their backs. And so, you know, we're going to walk that line by ensuring that we have opportunities for the community to be able to talk about their negative instances with those officers, and we're going to investigate them and make sure that, you know, if they are found to be true and those issues have taken place, that we're taking action. We want to get rid of the bad officers to empower the good ones.
Tell me something you're proud of that maybe you feel like you haven't gotten credit for, or people don't really know about you, like from your downtown commission, from your housing and community development years, from your city work years. Tell me something you're proud of that happened for Paul Young that people need to know.
One of the projects I'm most proud of is Tillman Cove. It's a project in Binghamton where, when I became the director of housing and community development in 2016, I got a call from a friend at East High School that said that all of these residents were being put out of this 99-unit development, and they needed me to come because I was the housing director. I get over there, and there were people literally in tears, residents that had been given letters that said that they had to leave within 2 weeks. And it was heartbreaking. I mean, I literally was in tears as I was talking to them because I felt so bad, because I felt powerless, because we didn't have any authority to stop them from putting the residents out. We worked hard to extend the amount of time that they had, and we found places for them to go, but it ultimately got shut down, and the building sat vacant for 2 years. As director of housing, I always remembered that. I made sure that we continued to monitor the project. The property owner wanted too much for the property, so I was able, in my capacity as director of housing, to purchase the property on behalf of the city. We did a competitive RFP where we looked for developers from across the country. We found an amazing development team that was committed to doing what the community had asked for, which is invest in affordable housing. And now, today, you're getting ready to have over 200 affordable housing units that are going to be right there in the heart of one of the fastest growing communities in our city, right there in Binghamton. That wouldn't have taken place but for the proactive nature of the work that I was doing when I was in that role range.
Okay, all right.
Annual household size,
yeah,
or less.
Yeah. So, it'll be affordable for those people.
Right.
Okay. All right, that's great. Give me a little, take me to school on Paul Young. Tell me how old you are, how long you've been married to your wife, how many kids you got, all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm 43 years old. I've been married since September 29th, 2007, however many years it is, 16 years. 2 amazing kids, Zoe, who's 12, Paxton, who's turning 8 this weekend. Amazing kids that, you know, the joy of my life. And, you know, I'm a pretty simple guy. I love my family, I love the work that I do, and I love Memphis, and that's what I stand for.
You grew up in Whitehaven?
Oak Haven. So I grew up in Oak Haven, which is Winchester, Tullahoma area, which is actually where our church is, our parents' church.
Right.
And so as I grew up
at the
Healing Center, as I grew up, we had a lot of programs that, you know, young men from the neighborhood, including myself, would go and play basketball, be mentored by men from the community. It was an amazing childhood that I experienced over there in Oak Haven, and I want to give more young men those types of opportunities in our city.
Where'd you go to high school?
Graduated from East High School in 1997.
And where'd you go to college?
And I went to college at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, UT Knox, during the glory years on the football field. We got the championship with T. Martin while I was there.
Isn't that great? And then what did you do postgraduate work?
So I went to graduate school at the University of Memphis for city planning. Usually in my elevator pitch, I tell people about my experience when I graduated from college with this degree in electrical engineering. I couldn't find the job that I was looking for, that I wanted to find. You know, I couldn't find the right gig. And so my mom was preaching a sermon on the purpose-driven life. And in her sermon, she said that God's purpose for your life will never be about you. God's purpose for your life will always be about someone else. And that's when it clicked for me, and I said, all right, what can I do where I can give back to someone but still earn a good living? And so I decided that I wanted to figure out how to rebuild neighborhoods, because in my neighborhood, in Oak Haven, I literally saw more homes vacant, more businesses leaving the neighborhood. At this point, this was 2002, and so I decided to enroll in city and regional planning to focus on community development, and that's what I've been doing for the past 20 years.
Was Dr. Kenneth Reardon there?
Ken Reardon was after my time there, but I did know him, obviously, as a planner.
Yeah.
We've all worked together in various capacities.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, great guy.
Brilliant man. Well, okay, so all that's very helpful. You know, I've been around a long time, and I've hung around with the mayors when they've come in, and at the Rotary Club, you know, we have, you know, the State of the City usually every year, and they give a speech, you know, and this happened with 2 mayors in a row, with Harrington, and it was this sort of for me, it's an amazing thing, okay? And this is about our challenge with young people and crime. But Mayor Harrington had visited juvenile court and had gone to the detention center. And I've been down there because I've been friendly with the people who run it, and I've tried to give motivational speeches.
Right.
And the mayor was sitting next to me, and he really got emotional because he had just come from there, and his heart was broken. And his idea after that was to do a charter school, and that whole thing didn't really work out, if you know that whole history. But his heart was in the right place. All right.
Yeah, of course.
And then A.C. Wharton came along, and he got emotional sitting there because he had just come from it was like, wow, this is deja vu all over again. And you know what A.C. wanted to do, because he's a lawyer, is reach into these homes where these kids are, and you noted, we know who they are, because it's recorded, even though because of the way the laws are, they can't communicate. You know, so this is an ongoing thing with our leaders.
It is. Who
have the heartbreak of going to see our kids who are really powerless. Once you're there, you're stuck, and especially if you've committed a major crime. You know? And so, you know, you're right. This is a city that has heart. I've sat next to the mayors who've wept about, literally wept quietly about how profoundly difficult. This is a vexing thing. But we do have to come to find a way. We gotta find a way, Paul Young. We gotta find a way, man.
We have to find a way, and we have to be committed to addressing the system. There are systemic challenges. There are good people that have led our city for many years. They've been on council. They've been on county commission, county mayors, city mayors. They've all encountered the same roadblocks, and it's because there are systemic barriers to success. And we have to be willing to look at the whole system. I can't do it alone. When I become the mayor, I'm not going to be able to change this on my own. We're going to have all of the systems represented so we can figure out how do we make the changes necessary so that we can truly move the needle. We've been talking about poverty for as long as I can remember, probably as long as you can remember. Yet, we still have a quarter of our population that live in poverty. Half of our children live in poverty. In order for us to truly move the needle, in order for us to truly get over the hump, we have to all be committed. We can't get up and pick up our ball and go home every time we get mad at each other. So I want to be the leader that says, it's not about me or my ego. It's not about me getting my feelings hurt because I don't like how you're talking to me. I'm staying at the table because it's not about us in this room. It's about these people out here that have no hope. They're relying on the grown-ups to get it right. And all we do is play. We play politics while there are people that are losing, that are being traumatized. Our kids are living lives that you can't even imagine. Can you imagine having multiple people in your life dead before you're the age of 10? Cousins, uncles, brothers. That's trauma. And we're playing. We're playing politics. We got to put the ego aside, and we need a leader that's willing to say, hey, I don't even like you. I don't care for you, but it doesn't matter. We're not in the same party. We don't believe the same thing, but we care about these kids. We care about these families. Like, that's the heart that I'm putting into this. And I feel like that's the direction that this city needs.